You are sick. You may not feel it. In fact, the primary symptom of this disease is a feeling of exhilarating productivity. You wake up before the sun, your mind is already racing, cataloging the tasks, the opportunities, the threats. You consume information with a voracious appetite. Market news, industry reports, podcasts from other high achievers. Your calendar is a fortress of efficiency, every block of time allocated to a project, a meeting, a call. You manage a portfolio of investments, perhaps dozens of them, a carefully diversified collection of stocks and assets designed to capture upside and mitigate risk. You are constantly moving, networking, learning, doing. You are the very picture of modern ambition. And this ambition is killing you. It is the engine of a disease, a cognitive pathology that has infected the entire culture of success. We call it the activity sickness. It is a mental state where motion is mistaken for progress, where complexity is confused with sophistication, and where the relentless pursuit of more systematically destroys your ability to achieve anything of lasting significance. The system you are running is not a feature, it is a bug. It is a psychological prison designed by culture and biology to make you feel effective while ensuring you remain average. The systematic hustle you've been sold is a lie, the diversification you've been taught is a confession of ignorance. The constant action you take is not a sign of your commitment, it is a symptom of your lack of conviction. This is the great paradox of modern achievement. The very tools and mindsets that allow you to climb the first few rungs of the ladder are the ones that structurally prevent you from ever reaching the top. They are the engine of mediocrity. But what if there were an antidote? Not a new productivity hack, not another piece of financial advice, but a completely different mental operating system. A system designed not for frantic activity, but for profound, strategic inaction. A system that doesn't celebrate diversification, but mandates ruthless, extreme concentration. A system that doesn't ask, "What more can I do today?" but instead asks, "What is so important that it is worth a piece of my life?" Warren Buffett did not become one of the wealthiest humans in history by outworking everyone. He did it by mastering a counterintuitive cognitive technology, a simple but profound mental device that rewires the ambitious brain to reject the disease of activity. He calls it the 20-slot punch card. Imagine, he would say, that you are given a punch card at birth. It has only 20 slots on it. Each time you make a significant investment, in a business, in a career, in a life-altering decision, you must punch one of those slots. Once a slot is punched, it can never be unpunched. You have only 20 punches for your entire life. This is not a folksy parable. This is a deconstruction of a psychological kill switch. It is a cognitive device engineered to terminate the instincts that lead to mediocrity and install a new set of commands geared for extraordinary generational wealth. It is the antidote to the activity sickness. This documentary is a complete deconstruction of that device. We will not just tell you the story of the punch card. We will dismantle it, piece by piece, revealing the deep psychological mechanisms that give it its power. We will show you how it weaponizes the human brain's own biases, turning them from liabilities into assets. We will give you the architectural plans for uninstalling the faulty programming of hustle and diversification, and installing the punch card operating system in its place. Prepare to learn how the ultra-wealthy think about commitment, conviction, and the profound power of saying no to almost everything. Prepare to rewire your mind for a level of focus and selectivity you never thought possible. This is the code for making fewer, bigger, and infinitely better decisions. This is the blueprint for the kill switch. Part 1. The pathology of a productive mind, deconstructing the activity sickness. To understand the power of the punch card, you must first conduct a brutal, unflinching diagnosis of the disease it is designed to cure. The activity sickness is not an external force, it is an internal one. It is a conspiracy between your biology, your psychology, and the culture you inhabit. Its primary directive is simple: keep moving. Let's dissect the 3 core pathogens that fuel this sickness. The first pathogen is a neurochemical addiction, the dopamine loop of trivial action. Your brain is not designed for long-term wealth creation. It is a survival machine, honed over millennia to reward short-term decisive action. When you check an email, buy a new stock, start a new project, or even just cross a small item off your to-do list, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine. It's a chemical reward that says, "Good job, you did something, you are surviving." The modern world has weaponized this ancient loop. The financial news network provides a constant stream of novel stimuli, urging you to react. The stock market ticker is a digital slot machine, rewarding the action of buying or selling with the thrill of possibility. Your social media feed is a highlight reel of other people's activity, creating a deep-seated anxiety that if you are not also constantly doing, you are falling behind. You have become a dopamine junkie, addicted to the feeling of being busy. You check your portfolio not once a day but 20 times a day. Why? Not for information, but for a neurochemical hit. Each flicker of green is a reward. Each dip into red is a trigger for action. Sell, buy something else, rebalance. The sickness convinces you that this frantic monitoring is a form of diligence. It is not. It is the behavior of an addict seeking a fix. This constant need for stimulation prevents the one state of mind required for great decision-making: deep, uninterrupted thought. You are so busy reacting to the noise of the market and the endless flow of information that you never have the cognitive space to develop genuine insight. Your portfolio of 50 stocks is a testament to this addiction. Each one represents a small hit of dopamine, the thrill of a new idea, a new story. But together, they represent a profound lack of commitment, a scattered mind that has never been forced to sit in silence and identify the one or two ideas that truly matter. The second pathogen is a cognitive illusion, the fallacy of control. Human beings have an innate terror of uncertainty. We crave a sense of control over our environment. The activity sickness exploits this craving by offering a simple, seductive lie: that action and complexity create control. Diversification is the ultimate expression of this fallacy. You are told that owning 50 or 100 stocks is safe because it protects you from the failure of any single company. This is taught in every business school. It is the gospel of modern finance. But what is diversification, psychologically? It is an admission of ignorance. It is a statement that you do not know enough about any single one of your investments to have deep conviction in it, so you spread your bets, hoping that the collective average will save you. It creates the asterisk illusion of safety, the illusion of control, because you are doing something. You are managing a complex system. But this complexity is a fragile defense. It protects you from total ruin, perhaps, but it also structurally guarantees you will never achieve extraordinary results. It anchors you to the mean. Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, calls this diversification. It is the process of adding more and more ideas to a portfolio, not to improve it, but to reduce the psychological discomfort of being concentrated in your best ideas. The truly wealthy have always understood this. Andrew Carnegie did not build his fortune by diversifying into 100 different industries. He built it by concentrating ferociously on steel. Henry Ford did not build his empire by hedging his bets. He poured every ounce of his being and capital into the automobile. They understood that real control comes not from spreading your resources thinly, but from concentrating them in an area where you have a profound, almost unfair, informational and psychological advantage. Your flurry of activity, the constant rebalancing, the tax loss harvesting, the endless search for the next hot sector, is not a sign of sophisticated management. It is a psychological coping mechanism for the fear of the unknown. It is a desperate attempt to feel in control of a system that is inherently uncontrollable. The third and most insidious pathogen is a cultural virus, the cult of hustle. You have been infected. The modern definition of success is a collage of sleepless nights, overflowing calendars, and the relentless pursuit of more. The entrepreneur who works 100-hour weeks is lionized. The executive who is always on is seen as indispensable. Grind and hustle are not just work ethics, they are moral virtues. This cultural narrative is a powerful driver of the activity sickness. It creates a profound sense of guilt associated with stillness. If you are not actively working, trading, networking, or producing, you are failing. If you take an afternoon to simply think, you feel lazy. If you go a month without making a new investment, you feel like you are missing out. This fear of missing out, or FOMO, is the fuel that the cult of hustle burns. It keeps you tethered to the news cycle, terrified that the next great opportunity will pass you by if you are not paying attention. It pushes you to say yes to too many projects, to pursue too many strategies, to dilute your focus until it is a thin veneer spread across a dozen mediocre commitments. Warren Buffett's career is a direct refutation of this entire cultural ethos. His office is famously quiet. His schedule is deliberately empty. He spends the majority of his day not in meetings, not on calls, but sitting in a chair, reading and thinking. He is not a tatfaba hustler. He is a thinker. He understands that great opportunities are rare, and the only way to recognize them when they appear is to have a mind that is uncluttered by the noise of constant activity. He has said you only have to do a very few things right in your life so long as you don't do too many things wrong. The cult of hustle is programmed to do as many things as possible, thereby maximizing the probability of doing many things wrong. The combined effect of these three pathogens, the dopamine loop, the fallacy of control, and the cult of hustle, is the creation of a mental operating system that is perfectly designed for mediocrity. It keeps you busy, it makes you feel productive, and it ensures that your results will never deviate significantly from the average. You are a hamster on a wheel, running faster and faster, generating a great deal of motion, but ultimately going nowhere. To escape, you don't need a faster wheel. You need to get off the wheel entirely. You need a system that short-circuits the dopamine loop, shatters the illusion of control, and inoculates you against the virus of hustle. You need a cognitive kill switch. Part 2. The cognitive rewiring device, deconstructing the 20-slot punch card. The scene is a university auditorium. Warren Buffett is speaking to a group of business students, the future leaders of the very system he has spent a lifetime rejecting. He isn't talking about stock prices or economic forecasts. He is talking about the architecture of decision-making. He holds up the metaphorical punch card. I could improve your ultimate financial welfare, he says, by giving you a ticket with only 20 slots in it, so that you had 20 punches, representing all the investments that you got to make in a lifetime. And once you'd punched through the card, you couldn't make any more investments at all. The students are likely thinking about portfolio construction. Buffett is thinking about brain surgery. The 20-slot punch card is not an investment strategy. It is a psychological device designed to perform a cognitive rewiring. It works by attacking the root causes of the activity sickness and installing a new set of mental protocols. It operates on three fundamental pillars. Pillar 1. The weaponization of scarcity. The modern investor operates in a world of perceived infinite opportunity. There are thousands of stocks, hundreds of strategies, and a new, revolutionary technology emerging every week. This abundance is paralyzing. It leads to shallow analysis and a lack of commitment. The punch card's first and most brutal function is to destroy this illusion of abundance and replace it with a reality of extreme, artificial scarcity. By limiting your entire life's work to just 20 decisions, the punch card triggers a cascade of powerful psychological shifts. First, it weaponizes loss aversion. Loss aversion is one of the most powerful biases in the human brain, discovered by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. It describes our tendency to feel the pain of a loss approximately twice as powerfully as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. For the typical investor, loss aversion is a catastrophic liability. It causes them to sell winning stocks too early to lock in a small gain and hold on to losing stocks for far too long, hoping to avoid the pain of realizing a loss. The punch card brilliantly inverts this dynamic. Suddenly, the most valuable asset you possess is not your capital, but your 20 slots. The greatest potential loss is not a drop in a stock's price, but the squandering of a precious, unrecoverable punch on a mediocre idea. This shifts the entire calculus of fear. You stop fearing market volatility. You stop fearing that you might miss out on a minor trend. Instead, you develop a profound, gut-wrenching terror of making a mistake. You begin to fear wasting a slot on an idea that is merely good instead of truly magnificent. This repurposed fear becomes your greatest ally. It forces you to raise your standards to an almost impossible level. It makes you patient. You are no longer a hunter chasing every animal that moves. You are an apex predator, waiting in absolute stillness for the one perfect opportunity, because you know that a missed shot is not just a missed meal. It is a piece of your life, gone forever. Second, the punch card activates the endowment effect. This is the psychological principle that we place a higher value on things we own than on identical things we do not. When you have a portfolio of 50 stocks, you don't truly own any of them in a psychological sense. They are just tickers, digital abstractions. But when you are forced to punch one of your 20 life slots for a company, you are not just buying a stock, you are entering into a sacred partnership. The act of punching the card makes that business a part of your identity. It becomes your company. This triggers the endowment effect on an epic scale. You will study it with an intensity that is impossible for the diversified investor. You will read not just its annual reports, but the reports of its competitors. You will learn its history, its culture, its strengths, and its weaknesses. You will care about it. This deep, obsessive ownership is what Buffett means when he says you should invest in a business that even a fool can run, because someday a fool will. The only way to know if a business meets that criteria is to understand it on a level that is miles beyond a cursory financial analysis. The punch card is a forcing function for this level of understanding. Finally, the scarcity of the punch card annihilates decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is the well-documented psychological phenomenon that the quality of our decisions deteriorates after a long session of making choices. The modern investor's brain is in a state of chronic decision fatigue. Should I buy? Should I sell? What about this new IPO? What about inflation? The sheer volume of trivial decisions drains cognitive energy, leaving little left for the few decisions that truly matter. The punch card is a cognitive decluttering tool. It makes 99.9% of all incoming opportunities an automatic no. You are no longer in the business of evaluating every idea that comes across your desk. You have a single brutal filter. Is this potentially one of the 20 best ideas I will ever have in my entire life? The answer is almost always a swift, effortless no. This preserves your mental bandwidth, your most precious resource, for the rare moments when an idea emerges that has the potential to be truly worthy of a punch. The mental clarity that results is staggering. You are liberated from the noise, freed from the tyranny of the urgent, and empowered to focus with monastic intensity on the monumental. Pillar 2. The mandate for extreme selectivity. The second pillar of the punch card's power flows directly from the first. Once the psychology of scarcity is established, your entire filtering mechanism for evaluating the world must change. The punch card forces you to evolve from a simple net fisher, catching everything that swims by, into a harpooner, hunting for whales. This transformation is driven by a fundamental shift in the core question you ask. The average investor asks, "Is this a good investment?" This is a low-bar question. It leads to a portfolio of good ideas, which, when combined, produce an average result. The punch card holder is forced to ask a radically different question. Is there any reason I might be wrong? This is an inversion of the normal process. Instead of looking for reasons to confirm your initial interest, you are now legally and psychologically required to look for reasons to kill the idea. You become a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a judge, all in one. Your default state is one of extreme skepticism. This is the essence of Charlie Munger's advice. Invert, always invert. If you want to find a great business, first define what makes a terrible business, and then avoid it at all costs. The punch card makes this an instinctual, non-negotiable part of your process. This mandate for selectivity also forces an honest and brutal assessment of your own limitations. This is where the punch card system interfaces directly with another core Buffett model, the circle of competence. To even consider punching one of your life slots, you must be operating so firmly within your circle of competence that your understanding of the business is world-class. You cannot afford to take a flyer on a biotech company you don't understand, or a new technology trend you can't explain to a 5-year-old. The stakes are too high. This forces you to define your intellectual territory with ruthless precision. If an idea falls even 1 inch outside that circle, it is an immediate no. There is no deliberation. There is no, maybe I should learn more about this. There is only the swift, cold rejection of anything you do not understand with absolute crystalline clarity. The result is that your too hard pile, as Buffett calls it, becomes enormous. It likely contains 99.99% of all publicly traded companies. This is not a sign of intellectual laziness. It is a sign of supreme intellectual discipline. It is the cognitive architecture required to ensure that when you finally do find an idea that makes it through these impossibly high filters, it is of extraordinary quality. It will be an idea that is simple to understand, has a long history of predictable earnings, is run by honest and capable people, and is available at a price that makes sense. It will be what Buffett calls a fat pitch, an obvious, unmissable opportunity that you can swing at with all your might, because you have let thousands of mediocre pitches go by. Pillar 3. The forcing function for deep conviction. Even with scarcity and selectivity, the system would fail without the final pillar, conviction. Conviction is the psychological fortitude to hold on to your decisions, not just when they are easy, but when they are terrifyingly difficult. It is the ability to watch a stock you own drop by 50% and not only avoid panic selling, but to calmly and joyfully buy more. The activity sickness makes this level of conviction impossible. When you own 50 stocks, your knowledge of each is necessarily shallow. You are reliant on the opinions of others, analysts, news anchors, market sentiment. When that sentiment turns negative, you have no deep well of proprietary knowledge to fall back on. Your belief is fragile because it was never truly yours to begin with. You panic because panic is the rational response to owning something you don't truly understand in a moment of crisis. The 20-slot punch card is a conviction-generating machine. It is a forcing function for transforming shallow, borrowed opinions into deep, unshakable personal knowledge. You cannot, in good conscience, punch one of your 20 life slots based on a tip from a friend or a segment on a financial news show. The very act of punching the card demands a level of due diligence that is orders of magnitude higher than the norm. You must do the work. You must build your own case, from the ground up, based on primary sources and your own analysis. By the time you are ready to punch the card, you must know more about that business than the Wall Street analyst who covers it. This deep, hard-won knowledge is the bedrock of real conviction. This conviction is then tested and forged in the crucible of market volatility. This is where the punch card interfaces with another of Buffett's great mental models, Mr. Market. Mr. Market is your manic, depressive business partner. Some days he is euphoric and offers to buy your shares at ridiculously high prices. Other days he is suicidal and offers to sell you his shares at absurdly low prices. The average investor is a slave to Mr. Market's moods. They feel euphoric when he is euphoric and panicked when he is panicked. They let his insanity dictate their actions. The punch card holder has a different relationship with Mr. Market. Because you have done the work, because your conviction is based on the long-term reality of the business, not the short-term noise of the market, you see Mr. Market not as a guide to follow, but as a servant to be exploited. When he shows up in a panic, offering you the chance to buy more of one of your 20 life-defining assets at a clearance price, you do not feel fear, you feel gratitude. You calmly and rationally take him up on his offer, increasing your ownership in a wonderful business at a wonderful price. This is psychologically impossible for the diversified investor. But for the punch card holder, it is the entire point of the game. The three pillars, scarcity, selectivity, and conviction, work together to create a closed-loop system, a cognitive flywheel. The scarcity of the slots mandates extreme selectivity. The process of extreme selectivity builds the deep knowledge required for unshakable conviction, and that conviction allows you to survive the market volatility that frightens everyone else, enabling you to take advantage of opportunities to add to your concentrated positions. This is the engine of compounding, not just for capital but for knowledge and temperament. It is a complete operating system for transforming your mind from a vessel of frantic activity into an instrument of profound, patient, and powerful judgment. It is the architecture of generational wealth. Part 3. Installing the Punch Card Operating System, a practical guide. Understanding the theory of the punch card is one thing. Living it is another. The activity sickness is a deeply ingrained set of habits and instincts. Overriding this programming requires a deliberate, methodical process. It is akin to installing a new operating system on a computer. You must first purge the old corrupted files, then install the new code, and finally, learn to navigate the new interface. Step 1. The mental purge. The great no. Before you can install the new OS, you must create a clean environment. This means systematically uninstalling the inputs that fuel the activity sickness. The first and most important action is a commitment to inaction. This is the great number. For a period of at least 30 days, you must commit to saying no to all the stimuli that trigger your addiction to activity. Say no to financial television. Turn it off. All of it. It is not an information service. It is an entertainment product designed to provoke emotion and encourage trading. Its business model is directly opposed to your financial well-being. Say no to daily market commentary. Unsubscribe from the newsletters. Delete the apps from your phone. Checking stock prices multiple times a day is not diligence. It is a compulsive behavior that erodes your peace of mind and encourages short-term thinking. A truly great business does not become significantly more or less valuable between breakfast and lunch. Say no to hot tips and casual financial conversations. When a well-meaning friend or colleague wants to tell you about the next big thing, politely decline. I have a personal policy of not discussing individual investments is a perfectly acceptable response. You must protect your cognitive environment with the same rigor you would use to protect your home from intruders. The goal of this purge is to break the dopamine loop. The first few days will be difficult. You will feel a palpable sense of anxiety, a feeling that you are missing out. This is the withdrawal symptom of the activity sickness. You must endure it. After a week or two, something remarkable will happen. The noise will fade. The constant sense of urgency will dissipate. You will begin to experience something you may not have felt in years: mental silence. In this silence, for the first time, you will have the cognitive space to think. This is the pristine environment required for the installation of the new operating system. Step 2. Defining a punchable idea. With a clean mental slate, you can now begin to define the criteria for an idea that is worthy of one of your 20 precious slots. This is not a simple stock screen. This is a life philosophy. You must write down your criteria, make them explicit, and hold yourself to them with absolute discipline. Your checklist should be personal, but it should be built around a set of foundational principles. Here are 5 non-negotiable criteria to serve as the architecture for your own list. Criterion A, the 10-year test. Can you, with a high degree of confidence, describe what the basic competitive landscape and earning power of this business will look like in 10 years? If the answer is no, the idea is an immediate disqualification. This single question eliminates the vast majority of companies, particularly in rapidly changing technology sectors. You are not looking for explosive growth in an unpredictable field. You are looking for durable, predictable, almost boring stability. Think about companies that sell products people have needed for 100 years and will likely need for 100 more: candy, soda, insurance, razors. If you cannot see a decade into the future, you are speculating, not investing. and you cannot afford to speculate with one of your 20 slots. Criterion B, the obsession test. Does the business itself, not just the stock, fascinate you to the point of obsession? Would you be excited to read a 500-page book about the history of this industry? If you were to meet the CEO, would you have a list of 100 intelligent questions for them? If the answer is no, walk away. A punchable idea must ignite your intellectual curiosity. This intrinsic motivation is the only force strong enough to power you through the thousands of hours of research required to build true conviction. You must be so interested in the business that the process of learning about it is its own reward. Without this intellectual passion, your research will be a chore, and your knowledge will remain superficial. Superficial knowledge cannot withstand the terror of a 50% market decline. Criterion C, the fat pitch test. Is this opportunity screamingly obvious? After all your research, does the value of the business appear so much greater than its price that the decision feels almost effortless? If the decision feels like a close call, if you have to create complex financial models with dozens of assumptions to make the math work, then it is not a punchable idea. The greatest investors do not solve difficult mathematical problems. They wait for easy ones. They wait for the fat pitch. This requires a level of patience that is alien to the hyperactive investor. You may go months, even years, without finding an idea that meets this standard. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the system is working. You are successfully saying no to the borderline cases, preserving your capital and your precious slots for the rare, unmissable opportunities. Criterion D, the anti-fragility test. Have you spent more time thinking about what could go wrong than what could go right? A punchable idea must be robust. It must be able to withstand recessions, technological shifts, and managerial incompetence. You must actively seek out the reasons the business might fail. List them, study them. What is the single biggest threat to this company? How has it responded to crises in the past? Is its success dependent on a single key person, a single product, or a single patent? A truly great business, an anti-fragile one, often gets stronger in times of chaos. Weaker competitors fail, allowing it to gain market share. Its strong brand becomes a safe haven for consumers. You are not looking for a company that can thrive only in good times. You are looking for a fortress that can withstand a decade-long siege. Criterion E, the ownership test. Before you punch the card, you must perform a final gut check. Close your eyes and imagine that instead of buying shares, you are buying the entire company, and you are not allowed to sell it for at least 10 years. Does that thought fill you with a sense of calm confidence or a sense of queasy anxiety? Are you thinking about where the stock price might go next week, or where the business's earning power will be in the next decade? This is the ultimate litmus test. It separates the mindset of a temporary stock renter from that of a permanent business owner. Only when you can honestly say that you would be thrilled to own the entire business through thick and thin for the long term are you ready to even consider punching the card. Step 3. The psychology of the first punch. Making your first decision under the punch card OS is a momentous occasion. It is likely to be one of the most difficult intellectual and emotional challenges of your life. All the old instincts will scream at you. The fear of being wrong will be immense. The temptation to wait for more information, for more certainty, will be powerful. You must overcome this. The goal of your research is not to achieve absolute certainty. That is impossible. The goal is to reach a point where the probability of a successful outcome is overwhelmingly in your favor, based on your own independent work. The act of punching the first slot is a declaration of independence. It is a statement that you are no longer a passive consumer of market opinion, but an active producer of proprietary insight. It is a commitment. It is the moment you transition from an amateur to a professional. It should feel weighty, it should feel significant, it should feel like a marriage, not a first date. Step 4. Living with concentration. Once you have a few punches on your card, you will face a new psychological challenge, the fear of concentration. Your portfolio will not look like your friends' portfolios. It will not be diversified in the conventional sense. It will be a small collection of a few businesses that you know inside and out. The financial media and conventional advisors will tell you that this is reckless. They will call it risky. You must reprogram your definition of risk. True risk is not the volatility of your portfolio's value. True risk, as Buffett says, comes from not knowing what you are doing. The investor with 100 stocks they don't understand is taking on far more risk than the investor with 3 stocks they understand, with absolute clarity. Your deep knowledge is your risk management. Your extreme selectivity is your risk management. Your long-term time horizon is your risk management. You must learn to embrace the volatility that comes with concentration. When the market panics and your concentrated portfolio drops in value, you must train yourself to see it not as a loss, but as an opportunity. It is Mr. Market offering you a gift. Because you have done the work, because your conviction is unshakable, you can act with rationality while others are consumed by fear. This is the ultimate edge. Living with concentration is a test of temperament. It requires a level of emotional detachment and patience that the activity sickness is designed to destroy, but it is also the only proven path to extraordinary, life-altering wealth. It is the way of the owner, not the gambler. It is the discipline of the professional, not the hobbyist. Part 4. The unseen consequence beyond the portfolio. The 20-slot punch card begins as an investment tool, but it does not end there. Once you have successfully installed this operating system in one area of your life, its logic inevitably begins to colonize others. You begin to see your entire life as a punch card. You have a punch card for your career. You only have a handful of major career moves you can make. Are you going to waste a slot on a job that is merely a stepping stone, or will you wait for an opportunity that represents a life's work? You have a punch card for your relationships. You only have the time and energy to cultivate a small number of deep, meaningful connections. Are you spreading your emotional energy thinly across a wide network of acquaintances, or are you investing it deeply in the few people who truly matter? You have a punch card for your projects and commitments. Every time you say yes to a new project, a new committee, a new obligation, you are punching a slot. You are spending a piece of your most finite resource, your time and attention. The punch card OS forces you to ask, is this truly worthy of a punch? This leads to a profound simplification of your life. You begin to say no, not as a defense mechanism, but as a strategic choice. You shed the trivial commitments, the draining relationships, the mediocre projects. You are no longer trying to do everything. You are trying to do a few things, the right things, with your entire being. The most significant consequence of adopting this philosophy is the death of FOMO, the fear of missing out. The activity sickness is fueled by a constant, low-grade anxiety that somewhere, someone else is capitalizing on an opportunity that you are missing. The punch card holder is inoculated against this disease. You understand that 99.9% of what you are missing out on is noise. It is mediocre opportunities, speculative manias, and traps for the undisciplined. You are not missing out. You are deliberately abstaining. Your focus is no longer external, on the frantic activity of the crowd. It is internal, on the quality and integrity of your own, very short list of commitments. You are playing a different game by a different set of rules. This is the ultimate freedom, the freedom from noise, the freedom from doubt, the freedom to focus with the entirety of your intellect and energy on the very few things that have the power to change the trajectory of your life. The 20-slot punch card is more than a mental model. It is a declaration of intent. It is a commitment to a life of quality over quantity, of depth over breadth, of conviction over consensus. It is the cognitive kill switch for the disease of mediocrity and the operating system for a life of concentrated excellence. It is the tool that transforms you from a frantic gambler, endlessly pulling the lever on the market's slot machine, into a patient and disciplined business owner, slowly, deliberately, and irrevocably building a fortress of generational wealth. It is the mechanism that forces the transformation. It provides the discipline, the scarcity, and the psychological architecture to make monumental decisions. But this entire operating system, this entire philosophy of ruthless selectivity, hinges on one critical, unanswered question. Once you have steeled your mind and decided to punch one of your precious slots, how do you ensure the business you have chosen is truly magnificent? How do you guarantee it can survive for 50 years? How do you know, with deep certainty, that it can withstand the relentless assaults of competition, technological change, and the inevitable mistakes of future managers? The punch card forces you to choose, it forces you to commit, but it does not, by itself, tell you treed, hinder tutor jails. For the master blueprint of what makes a business truly great, Buffett uses a completely different, yet perfectly complementary mental model. A system for identifying businesses that are structurally invincible, businesses protected by a hidden fortress he calls the economic moat. The moat is the architectural blueprint for the castles you want to occupy with your 20 precious slots. It is the science of identifying invincibility. To deconstruct that blueprint, to learn how to train your mind to see these invisible fortresses that protect a company for decades, and to build a portfolio that is designed to withstand the chaos of time, click the video on your screen now.